What's going on, New York Giants fans? Hit Squad back at it with another video, and we have another episode of the Giant Breakdown. I am pumped to have this guy on, man. Great content creator, fellow Florida native, man. I mean, we got the Jags fan cave here joining us. We're going to be talking about the Jaguars and New York Giants game coming up. There is a lot to talk about in this video. You guys can find the Jags fan cave's Twitter as well as his YouTube channel in the description below. So do us all a favor, go subscribe, go follow him. Makes great content. My man, how you doing? How's everything going with you, brother?
It is a beautiful, weirdly cold night here in Jacksonville, Florida, and I could not be more excited to talk about my Jaguars.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And I couldn't be more excited to do this video. The Jaguars are a team growing up that, you know, my dad, I mean, he would try to take us to Jaguars games just because Jacksonville was fairly close to us. We'd also go to Miami as well to see the Dolphins, but I don't know, man. Something about the city of Jacksonville, it's just they're a very respectable organization. And again, we got a lot to talk about in this video, man. So let's get right into this, right? I think there's some storylines, obviously, in this game. The Evan Ingram revenge game. A lot of Giants fans, we could talk about Evan Ingram for hours, and it still wouldn't be enough. Obviously, the Jaguars, you guys took Trayvon Walker, stud
Mhm.
of a player. Definitely caught a lot of people outside of, I'm sure, the Jags fan base off guard, including myself. I thought you guys would have maybe took Aiden Hutchinson. Uh, and then you also, it was rumored you guys might have been in the room, in the mix for Evan Neal. So, with that, I want to pivot to how are these rookies looking? Because, Trayvon, I mean, from an outside perspective, I think the potential's there with that kid, and I'm starting to see why you guys selected him number one overall.
Well, so overall, let me start with Trayvon Walker, right? He obviously was the number one overall pick, but then you look at him as a whole, he has more roughing the passer penalties than he does sacks right now.
Mm.
So when you look at him as just an outside linebacker as an edge rusher, he isn't what we really were sold. Well, let me correct myself. He was what we were sold. We were sold a guy that's not going to get a bunch of sacks, but a guy that is going to be a heavily impactful player outside of just rushing the passer. Week one against the Commanders, he had the interception, and week six, I believe it was against the Colts, he had a pass breakup. So he's somebody that can drop into coverage and actually make impactful plays outside of rushing the passer. So while he does have the limited sack numbers, while according to Aiden Hutchinson, or comparing to Aiden Hutchinson, excuse me, he it doesn't have the gaudy sack numbers, but still, he's being an impactful player. And so far, Devin Lloyd has outshined him. We traded back up into the first round to get Devin Lloyd at pick number 27, and he's somebody that has really been shining so far. He was leading all rookies with passes defended. I believe it was some crazy number. He was leading them with interceptions for a little bit as well, despite Jalen Petrie, Sauce Gardner, all of these great secondary rookies having very, very good seasons. And ultimately, the game against the Colts kind of did drop him a little bit in the betting odds and in the favorable rankings. But still, then you look at where the Jaguars went after their first round. Obviously, they didn't have a second round because they traded it up to the first round. But then you look at their third round, their first third round pick, Luke Fortner, their rookie center. Ultimately, he's been slowly progressing. His week one PFF grade was abysmal, but as he's gone through the weeks, he's progressively gotten better and better and better. And that's something great. It probably has to do a little bit with the fact that all pro Brandon Sheriff is next to him. Ultimately, he does have backup veteran Tyler Shatley there next to him at the left guard position now. And then from there, it kind of just you get into the weeds because you have a lot of guys that are either not dressing or still not even on the team at this point. It really feels like on the active 53. You're looking at Chad Muma, the 70th overall pick, that he never sees the field anymore unless it's a special situation or special teams. And then you get even farther down than that, and you have Snoop Connor, running back out of Ole Miss, who has not been active for a single game day in the fifth round. And then after that, if the fifth rounder's not making the team, obviously the sixth and the seventh round guys are not going to make the active roster on game day either. So it's a really weird mix. You have very, very impactful rookies at the top end of the draft, but then literally once you can chop the third round in half, and from there you just don't have any impact at all practically. In the bottom half of the draft. So you have three very impactful rookies and then nothing else. It's a very weird draft for the Jaguars thus far.
Hey, I mean, the good thing is that with Devin Lloyd, I mean, I think that could have been the steal of the draft, in my honest opinion. I did not think he was going to fall that low. I actually have a video on my channel where I thought in a trade back scenario, the Giants should have picked him up because we
Mhm.
needed help at the linebacker position. And I think he is everything and more you would want in your linebacker. I mean, the athleticism, the length that he has, how he gets to the ball. And then to your point with Trayvon Walker, again, I think, the upside is there with the kid. Comparing them to Kayvon, because I think these two, as well as Aiden Hutchinson, for as long as they're in the league, I feel like they're going to be compared. What was the
Mhm.
best edge rusher in this class? For,
Exactly.
I feel, a good chunk of time, it was Kayvon Thibodeau. A lot of people had him as the consensus number one.
Yep.
Then Aiden Hutchinson is really just taking, the ranks by storms. And then you're hearing, chirps of this Trayvon Walker kid in that possibly Jacksonville could take him. And I'm thinking to myself, no way. If Jacksonville is smart, they either take the offensive tackle, or if they're going to stick to defense, they go and take Kayvon or Aiden Hutchinson, just because I like the upside with those two players. And I felt those two players would fit, what you guys have going on in Jacksonville. And
Yep.
I like Trayvon Walker. I think this could be a game that the Giants might have to look out for him. I mean, our offensive tackles they're pretty good right now. Andrew Thomas is playing like a top two tackle. Evan Neal's getting better week in and week out. Had an amazing performance against the Baltimore Ravens and pretty much shut down Jason Pierre-Paul. But those are two players that you guys drafted that I thought were A+ picks. Now for the Giants, we select Kayvon Thibodeau. Also select Evan Neal in the second round. You go and get Wandale Robinson out of Kentucky.
Mhm.
Third round, we have a corner who's currently injured at the moment, and we've selected a tight end in later rounds. We also have some rookies that are out for the season dealing with ACL injuries. So, but in recent weeks, our rookies have actually been a focal point to our wins. Rookie Wandale Robinson scores a touchdown, his first touchdown of the season. It's actually his first game action since week one, where he dealt with an MCL. Kayvon Thibodeau, his pressures have been there. He's getting to the quarterback, but he didn't record his first sack until last week against Baltimore, which
Mhm.
ends up being the game-winning strip sack. For the Giants. Now, I think that this could be a game potentially that we could see as Giants fans, Kayvon Thibodeau really try to prove that he was worthy of not only being that number five pick, but possibly being that number one pick. And I think that argument could also be made for Trayvon. To go out there and prove that this is the reason why you selected me and not this guy across Kayvon Thibodeau. So I think ultimately it's going to be a good game. Uh, Evan Ingram, I mean, hey, I know for Jaguars fans, you probably hope he catches some balls. For Giants fans, we're hoping that he's the Evan Ingram of old and he will cost you guys a lot of turnovers as he did for us in crucial moments. But, looking at the Jaguars, man, I mean, I think they're a team that in my honest opinion, I think they're good. I think they're a little Jekyll and Hyde. You guys can go out
Mhm.
and beat the Chargers. And then there's other games this year where I felt the Jaguars fell kind of short. But, tell me, with this new revamped offense, with the weapons you guys went out and got, Christian Kirk, you guys, pretty much just blew up the wide receiver market after that signing. The weapons you guys selected, a healthy ETN. How is this offense looking? Because while a lot of people will point to Trevor Lawrence has had a pretty underwhelming career so far. I don't put a lot of that on him. I put that on coaching, and I think
Yes.
Doug Peterson was that perfect guy for him. But how is this offense looking, let alone the team?
Well, this offense has been really, really strange because honestly, the game kind of goes outside of the last loss against the Colts. The game has gone the way Trevor Lawrence has gone. Week one against the Commanders, Trevor Lawrence came out flat. So the entire team came out flat until the second half. And then by that point, it was too late to come back from it. You look at week two and week three, the shutout versus the Colts, and then the blowout 38-10 win against the Chargers. Trevor Lawrence was cooking on all cylinders, and Trevor Lawrence set a franchise record for accuracy in
Okay.
one of those two games. And then you kind of look at the week 4 against the Eagles. He has 5 turnovers. We all know what happened in that game. Surprisingly, that was still a one-score game. And then, you look at week 5, Shad Khan's money could not have bought that franchise a touchdown in week 5 against the Texans just because, good Lord, Trevor Lawrence didn't have, he had the decision making that I would have out there with zero NFL coaching and coaching in me. And then, week 6 against the Colts, that game was the really outlier for this Jaguars offense because that game was good enough for the Jaguars to win that game. Trevor Lawrence had an incredible fourth quarter drive. It took up over 10 minutes of that fourth quarter, 18 plays, over 80 yards. He had two third and 10 plus yards completions on that drive to extend the drive, ultimately putting the Jaguars in the end zone, taking the lead in the game. But then the defense crumbled and allowed a late fourth quarter comeback from the Matt Ryan and the Colts. So ultimately, this Jaguars offense comes and goes with Trevor Lawrence's performance, and whatever Trevor Lawrence we decide we're going to get that game. And unfortunately, we never know what we're going to get. There's been reports that he had a bad warm up today. He's going to play terribly. Next thing you know, he sets the franchise record for accuracy. Oh, he had an incredible warm up today in Philadelphia. Oh, next thing you know, he puts the ball on the ground 4 times. And it's just a very weird thing because some days we're going to think we're going to get James Robinson in a heavy dosage, and he has, an abysmal day. And then Travis Etienne has had 7+ yards per carry in the last 2 games, and people really didn't see that coming out of him either. So this Jaguars offense, I really hate to just say it's you throw a dart at the wall and that's what you're going to get. But honestly, to this point, that is what you're going to get because we have not seen consistency in the running game, and we have not seen consistency through the passing game from Trevor Lawrence thus far.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Uh for the Giants, I mean, we could understand, maybe the offense not clicking, or maybe, obviously this is going to be a new scheme for Trevor Lawrence to pick up and learn. I feel, it's a little bit of a process, for him, but I think so far he's been doing fairly well given, the circumstances. Now, as a Giants fan, I'm not going to lie, that's music to my ears. Because with Wink Martindale, his defense week in and week out, we've been able to really control games, especially in the second half. We were able to shut out Aaron Rodgers scoreless in the second half when we played them in London. We were able, I mean, he was even on record of saying that, there was moments where he was confused with the packages that were being thrown at him. Same with Lamar Jackson. You go and you watch that game, and there's packages being thrown at Lamar that I've never seen. And, even Brian Baldinger, he's breaking it down. And it's just the
Mhm.
genius of how he is able to not only bring pressure, whether that's from, corners, whether that's from the safety, whether that's having everyone on the field, standing up and no one has their hands in the ground. I mean, he's going to do everything he can to control that game. And, for us, I mean, I really look at, okay, how can we throw Trevor Lawrence off of his game? How can we get to this young QB? Because I feel, if we can at least throw off Trevor Lawrence, we have a chance. Because not for nothing, I think you guys are a gritty team. I think you have a nice running back duo in Travis Etienne and James Robinson. I mean, those are two players that they could take it to the house on any given play if you let them. And then on top of that, looking at the defensive side of the ball, I think the linebacking core, obviously going back to Devin Lloyd, that's a strong focal point in that defense. Your edge rushers are solid. But I got to give a lot of credit to that run defense, which, from what I read, actually ranks third in the NFL. And you guys have only let up 3.6 yards per carry. Now, for the Giants, we are currently the number one run attack team in the league. Saquon Barkley is on one this year, just running havoc, as well as Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, the last couple of weeks, has been playing fairly solid, actually. Our offense has been clicking more and more. We're getting guys healthy at the right time. And, for me, what I'm looking at is what team is going to make the fewest mistakes. Can it, because if Jacksonville can take advantage of what Wink throws at him, I feel like you guys have a shot. And then with the Giants, if we can at least keep Daniel Jones clean, because again, those two first round edge rushes you got down there in Jacksonville,
Mhm.
they're no joke. They are no joke. They can get to the QB. They're fast, athletic, strong guys. And I feel like I have to stress this to Giants fans because there are some Giants fans that are just automatically penciling this as a W. This isn't your regular 2-4 team. Like this is a
No,
team that could easily, in my opinion, be 4-2. And even with that 2-4 record, I still give you guys a good shot at that division. Not for nothing. I don't trust the
absolutely.
Colts. I definitely don't trust anyone else in that division. But if we're talking about promise and talent, I think Jacksonville's got that in that division.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a
Now,
lot of rumblings right now that the first time the Jaguars made the AFC Championship game in 1996, their second year in the league, they started the year, I believe, 4-7. Ultimately, found themselves in the AFC Championship game with a win over John Elway at the Broncos that year. And there was a lot of talent on that team. There was a lot of young talent on that team, and the former Jaguar players that were on that team kind of have come out and said maybe it was a little bit of homerism, but still they've come out and said this team smells and it feels like the team did in 1996, where they're not going to be a team that has an insane record. They're not going to be the 99 team the Jaguars had, where they went 14-2 and they were insane on offense. They're not going to be that team, but they're going to be a team that's well coached. They're going to be a team that's well disciplined, and they're going to be a team that's just going to outwork you. And when it comes to the game time, it's going to be a game. Okay, you want to sleep on us? Great. Here we go. We're going to punch you in the mouth, and we're going to play football when you aren't expecting it. Next thing you know, here we are. And I think that's the way the Jaguars are kind of setting themselves up to be. Unfortunately, as a fan, I'm sitting at it watching a 2-4 team with three back-to-back losses. When we started the year 2-1, we were in first place in the AFC South. We've tumbled, but now I hate to say the Giants could be a get-right game, treating this game like a trap game. Obviously every analytic you can look at says the Jaguars should be the favorite in this game, and they are. But the numbers just say that the Jaguars have struggled against the run since Foley Fatukasi. Their nose tackle, I believe, their defensive tackle went out. Their nose tackle, Devon Hamilton, is on the injury report. And when you're facing a team that has Saquon Barkley, I'm ready to crown him comeback player of the year already for what he's been doing.
likewise.
I I think it's just absolutely it's a recipe for disaster for this Jaguars defense that struggled to stop the Colts' third string running back last week, and you're facing one of the best young running backs in the National Football League. I think it could be a recipe for disaster for Jaguar fans to get their hearts broken if Foley Fatukasi, the defensive tackle, and then Devon Hamilton, the nose tackle, do not play on Sunday.
Yeah, no. And I mean, for us, you know, that's something that a lot of fans are looking at as well, where can we attack that Jacksonville defense, especially in the run game? In the passing game, you're going to see a lot of RPOs, you're going to see a lot of bootlegs, you're going to see a lot of crossers, jet sweeps, a lot of motion going on. And, it's for us as fans, we're not used to it because, we're coming off of a horrible Jason Garrett scheme that was just dinosaur, very bland, extremely predictable. And
Mm-hmm.
now, Kafka and Dable, where if in the first half, things aren't going the way that they want it, we're noticing that they are making really good adjustments in the second half and just completely outscoring opposing teams by a lot. And, I got to credit this coaching staff. I mean, they're very well coached, these players. Wink Martindale, Kafka, Brian Dable as well. Special teams, that's a little bit of an issue for us. It's been getting somewhat better, but it's definitely been a weak spot. For me, outside of the Dallas game and the Ravens game, I mean, but I feel like this is a little subjective. I mean, we've been very good at stopping the run. I feel like with the Baltimore Ravens, there are not many teams, if any at all, that could stop the running attack that they provide. Whether that's with
Mm-hmm.
their running backs, who Kenyon Drake just ran all over us like it was nothing. And we were able to contain Lamar Jackson for the most part, but Kenyon Drake just, whatever lane he found, he took it. And a lot of times, he made this defense pay. So for me, that's what I worry about. Because if that Jacksonville running attack could get going, I mean, it could be a long day for this defense. Now, granted, I trust that Wink Martindale will be able to draw up a plan that he feels can not only put these players in the position to win, but to dominate. But for me, I worry about that run game because again, those are two players that you really cannot sleep on, especially ETN. If he's the ETN that we saw in college, you cannot sleep on that kid whatsoever because not only is he good in the run game, but I feel in the passing game as well. I mean, that could be a killer. And for the Giants, speaking of the passing game, we've struggled really just covering tight ends. And Evan Ingram, who granted, a lot of Giants fans do not like him. In my opinion, is still a threat. He has burner speed, he has the length, he has the size, pretty much an oversized wide receiver. But can the Giants, match up with Evan Ingram? I'm okay with Adoree Jackson on Christian Kirk, who I think is a very talented wide receiver. But for me, that run game and your tight ends, man. I mean, I feel like if those two facets can get it going, and to your credit, what you mentioned earlier, if Trevor Lawrence can have one of those games where he's setting franchise records, the Jaguars got a good chance. I don't it's not
Mhm.
out of the realm of possibility to say that this could be a trap game for the Giants, who have been feeling very good, coming off of, that really bad loss from Dallas a couple weeks back. It definitely could be a trap game, but I'm hoping it isn't because I feel like the Giants should come in here and handle business. Now, let's be real here, right? I feel like anything could happen in Jacksonville. We've seen some crazy things happen down there. I mean, it's no joke the threat that you guys can actually be. I think right now you guys are just going through the wrinkles of a new regime,
Mhm.
a new foundation. And listen, again, as Giants fans, we can understand that we've gone through so many regimes, since Tom Coughlin. So I could definitely understand. But let me ask you, man, what are some players that you're looking at in this game? Are there any key players in this game that you're looking at that you feel that Giants fans should look out for?
Well, for one, absolutely has to be Tyson Campbell, the cornerback, second-year cornerback. Before the season started, he was my player that if you had to pick one Jaguar to make the Pro Bowl this year, it wasn't going to be Trevor Lawrence, it wasn't going to be Josh Allen, Travis Etienne, it was going to be Tyson Campbell. Tyson Campbell was somebody last year leaving 2021 had 6 interceptions, I believe, or it had a bunch of interceptions in the final 6 games. I'll say that, and he was just a very, very good player. And then coming into this year, he's basically followed suit. He hasn't had the gaudy interception numbers like we were expecting, but still, he's kind of had that Jalen Ramsey effect almost, where you look at the numbers and you say, well, yeah, he's not allowing anything, but he's also not getting interceptions. And you kind of can extrapolate on it and say, well, yeah, if you watch the tape, it's because they're not throwing to him because he's locking down the corner or the wide receivers so well. Last week against the Colts, he was one of the highest graded PFF corners in the National Football League. Tyson Campbell is absolutely somebody that the National Football League should be put on notice about because I think he is very quietly having an AJ Terrell level breakout year two, like what we saw, and I do think he could be a sleeper pick for All Pro this year. Now, Christian Kirk is somebody that I've been kind of calling on to have another breakout game in the last 3 weeks. He has not had the numbers that we saw in the first 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks, it was, oh my God, Christian Kirk was worth the money. He has 3 touchdowns. He has all of these catches, all of these yards. But now he's second in receptions, and he's just kind of quietly getting 4, 5, 6 targets a game. And he's not getting the 12 to 13 that we would like him to see because you paid him number one money. He deserves number one money. And ultimately, I do think he needs to be getting those targets. And if he does get them, he is absolutely a game changer for this Jaguars offense. He's one of the best slot receivers in the league. And with the accuracy that Trevor Lawrence has shown that he could have, if those two kind of get on the right page and we do see a 12 target game from Christian Kirk, that is absolutely somebody that could be a massive thorn in the side of this Giants defense.
Yeah, man. And Campbell is a player that I'm looking at too. I think that he could be very good in this league. Especially if he keeps going on the production of what he's building. I mean, for me personally, one player I think, Jaguars fans should look out for, which I can name a lot, but for me personally, it has to be Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence, right
Balling
now,
this
he
year.
leads this team in sacks. He's had 4 sacks in 3 games. And with players coming back like Aziz Ojolari on the edge, we're getting a healthier Leonard Williams back who commands a double team. And if not, you're going to regret it every time you don't double team that man. I mean, he's just finding ways to get to the quarterback. He's finding ways to disrupt offensive lines, and he's a big
Mhm.
boy. He's a very big boy, and I feel if we can attack that interior, the edges are gonna do their thing. But if we could really attack that interior, I feel the Giants got a chance. And I mean, the way that he's playing, man, I mean, I feel that he could be an all-pro player if he keeps up with this production, because most of this production for Dexter Lawrence has been with Leonard Williams out. And now we're getting Leonard Williams. This is his second week playing, coming off of a pretty gruesome injury. But for me, I think that's one player outside of obviously Saquon Barkley. I would say to definitely look out for, especially in the running game. You're gonna see him in the running game heavy. You're gonna see him in the passing game heavy. Um, there's a lot of different players I could name, but definitely Dexter Lawrence. I would say Jaguars fans should look out for because not only is he good in getting to the quarterback, but he's a very good run stuffer. So getting that running game going isn't going to be easy, but if Jacksonville again is successful with it, yeah, they got a good chance of beating this Giants team. Um, but let me get your score predictions, man. How are you feeling about this game for your Jaguars?
Ultimately, for me, this game comes down to just how well does Trevor Lawrence play. The Giants' offense as a whole doesn't scare me. Ultimately, it just comes down to can they stop Saquon Barkley, and I think they have the athleticism to stop Saquon. Foye Luik and Devin Lloyd at the interior linebacker positions playing very, very well as a whole for the season. Rayshon Jenkins and Andre Cisco, great open field tacklers in the safety position. So Saquon doesn't terrify me as much as I feel like he probably should terrify me. But then,
Yeah.
this Jaguars offense, that is what kind of terrifies me because you talk about all the great pieces that the Giants have in that front seven. This Jaguars offense doesn't really have the elite players to match with that. They have good players. You're looking at a team that is missing their left guard. They're having play a rookie center. There's just a lot of question marks surrounding this team, and it really does leave a lot of question marks around it. So if I were to give the Jaguars the win, it would probably be to the tune of like 21-10. And I do think that's probably where I'm gonna go is just a 21-10 or 21-20, excuse me, victory as a whole as it sits. I think the Jaguars come out with the win, but I would not be surprised if the Giants did walk away with the win in this one.
No, most definitely. I mean, this could be a game. This could be a game that the Jaguars upset the Giants, or this could be a game that the Giants just come in, they handle their business, and they're 6-1. I personally have the Giants winning this game. I think again the offense is clicking more. Daniel Jones is playing better. Rookie tight end Daniel Bellinger, who's actually leading every rookie tight end in every statistical stat right now. He's been a nice security blanket for Daniel Jones. Wan'Dale Robinson, shifty, got some speed. He played running back as well. And Darius Slayton, who's a burner as well. He's a very slippery wide receiver. He could get downfield. I just feel that this is a team that we're going to see really attack Trevor Lawrence. I don't know
Mhm.
why. I feel with how well this defense played last week and previous weeks against Green Bay, against Chicago. I mean, every week they're getting better.
Mhm.
Thibodeau is building more confidence. And, I think this is a game that, in my opinion, I got the Giants winning 28. I almost said 24. 28-17. 28-17 is the score that I have. I would not be shocked at all if we're talking a 24-21 type game. Because I think, again, they're two teams that I feel balance each other well, in my opinion.
Yes.
And, this isn't a team that, anyone should just look at and automatically just write them off. Because, again, Jacksonville, while there's games they should have won, there's games that they should have lost that they ended up winning. So, I
Yes.
gotta give credit where credit's due. But Giants fans and Jaguars fans, let us know your thoughts below. How are you guys feeling about this game? What are some players that you're looking at? Jags fan got the Jaguars winning. As usual, I'm gonna pick the Giants. This is gonna be a really good game. It's really important for both teams. He's actually going to be there. I'm going to be there. So it's going to be really fun. I cannot wait. And yeah, let us know your thoughts below. Also, don't forget to join the Hit Squad. And we'll see you guys in the next video.